Good evening, everyone, to the 239th Meet the Artist program of JD Center of Art. For some of you who may not know about JDCA, it's a unique art center where our founder, chairman, and artist Jatin Das, who's donated a large collection of contemporary art, folk art, tribal art, antiquities, books that he's collected over last 40 years. And we have 1 acre of land which has been given by the Odisha government, and the construction is on. Um, and it's a unique center where all these different forms of visual arts will be housed under one roof. And that roof and every inch of that design has been done none other than our eminent speaker today, Mr. B.V. Doshi, who all of you know. So I'm going to give a very short introduction. You've done so much that it's impossible to say it all, but just a little introduction. Mr. Balkrishna Vithaldas Doshi, whom we all fondly call as Doshi Sahib. Having worked under Le Corbusier, he's a pioneer of modernist architecture in India. In 1955, he established his center, Vastu Shilpa, in Ahmedabad. His key projects include the IIM Bangalore, IIM Udaipur, NIFT Delhi, Ahmedabad Ni Gufa, CEPT University, and the Aranya low-cost housing development in Indore, which was awarded the Aga Khan Award for Architecture. In 2018, he became the only Indian architect to receive the Pritzker Architecture Prize, considered to be the Nobel Prize of Architecture. He's also been awarded the Padma Shri and the Padma Bhushan. And we all know what a special human being and what an amazing architect he is. So very warm welcome, Doshi Sahib, again from all of us. I'm taking the liberty of welcoming you from all of us.
Yeah.
So I remember when I asked you, what do you want to talk about? And I said, what should I title your talk? And you said, let's make it a conversation. And you chose the title as Interacting with Space and Time. So architecture is often seen as an interaction with space, but you chose to include time in your title. So could you please tell us a little more about what do you mean by architecture being an interaction with time and space?
One of the important things which we never talk about is time. It's only when we have an appointment or when we have to catch a flight or when we miss something. Naturally seeing things, time just comes and goes without saying a word. It's a moment in silence, but very, very important. And in architecture, time becomes very important because you don't talk, but you are acting, you are looking at things, you are looking at the changing light, you can see the changing of seasons. Every time we see things happening, every time we see nature, every time we see activities, we just take them for granted. Unless one is in a hurry or one is something else. But most precious thing about architecture is space and time. Because the time is the one where action takes place. Time is the one where there are memories. Time is the one where you talk about journeys. And everything happens in the building. Buildings, we live for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. We live all the time. We go and see ancient buildings and we only say, oh, when was it built? But the only thing we don't know is what was that time, what made it happen. And I think time connects us to past, present, and future. And then we look at it. Only when we are under pressure, we say, I have no time. And that is why I always take time as one of the important elements in life, because time also has energy. Energy has nothing to do with itself. Energy and time go together. Events happen during those things. Situations come. History happens like this. How old is your house? When did you go there? And what happened? So all those questions that they come, they're all like episodes. They are like events. And we casually take, but without talking about time. So architecture, really good architecture becomes timeless. And I think important thing is, when does it become timeless? Anytime you go and you see that building and you say, oh, I have seen it, it's wonderful. So the memory and time comes together. Memory and associations come together. History comes together. And our connections become very, very important. Reference is there of time. So time to me is also the connection between opening and enclosure. A threshold, you come in and you go out. Then the corridors. Then the question is that you are standing in the balcony and you look out and you don't even recognize that how much time has passed. So time really is connected indirectly with every event in our life. And the question is, how many ways architecture plays a part in making that time flow? When you are going on in the road in Bombay and you are in a traffic jam, that time is really something else which you don't want to know. But when you are on the beach in Bombay and time passes, you just wonder where the time has gone. So it can do emotions, it can do conditions, it can create pressures, it can create joy. But we don't think today of time because time is also connected to space. Time, space, movement, activities, they all are related. And I think important thing is that, I was a couple of years ago, I was in Haridwar, standing there at the veranda on the, what you can call a big open space, next to the river. I saw people sitting there for a long time. They were squatting and they had put in their dhotis, when they were sitting, squatting together, and nobody spoke. And to me, that was something very, very marvelous because they did not say anything, but they were together and they never calculated. So time passed, but they were not only relaxed, but deep inside they were connected. So time also connects. Time also gives you pressures. Time also gives you moods. And I think those are the things to me we never talk of. But architecture is not only time, but because space and time go together. Space, time, and movement. Now they all are interlinked. For example, you put a staircase and you make a staircase which is winding and you take little more time, or you go into a very narrow staircase, which are in the row house, in the townhouses. All those things count. So we don't talk of time, but along with time, we don't talk about energy. Then we don't talk about activities. Then we don't talk about the functions that happen. It is only when you want to make it measurable, then we talk about efficiency. We talk about then time and how much time you have wasted or gained. But where is that gain and gone on? Where have you enjoyed? Can we catch it? Can we take it home? I think memory comes back again in time. Stories happen. So when I talk of time, I talk about story. I would create a story, I would create a narration, I would create an accidental encounter. I would create something by which you look at something and you look at a photograph and you forget about that, how long you were watching that photograph. Now, all those things become connected. So space, time, architecture, event is all connected. But we never refer time as such. And
Yeah,
that is
very true.
why when I mentioned to you about time is because it is
Very true.
there, but in silence.
It's very true, very profound. And it's, I mean, the field that I am in also, we are also telling constantly stories, right? I mean, whether it's you're as an actor or as a director. And sometimes I'm in a jury and I often say that time is the only real, like if anything stands the test of time, that is when you know that something is great, like what you said about architecture. And it's true about cinema, or I think any form of art. because the rest is all subjective. You may like it, somebody else may not like it, but that's really wonderful. Siddharth, you had a question, please.
She said about 15 years ago or 12 years ago, I first came and walked around Sangat with you. And I remember one of the things you said that, even though you used to come to work every day and you make the whole journey and you naturally built it and envisioned it a certain way, but every time you would see it in a different time of the day or different time of the season, it would feel completely different. And you enjoyed the way it would work. In the rains, how the water would come out of the spouts you had created, or how the peacocks would come, or how the light would look, and the kind of music that you had in the surroundings. Could you talk a little about what it meant, all of this, and in continuation of what you were saying, but also that building your own workspace? And right behind you, I can see the little photograph of you with Corbusier. So,
Yes, thank you for noticing it. But anyway, he is always present for me. Time and timelessness. When I was doing my office, the question was, jokingly speaking, the client is there, my old friend, and he's very upset with me and whatnot. And then he walks through the entry and comes there and he looks at the water body, he looks at this, he doesn't find the entry. And he forgets, why he had come. So the issue here is, can I use time and space and journey together and weave it into something as an experience? And if that experience I can catch, and if that experience becomes my memory or my association, then I think I have done justice to something which we never talk of. Time, space. So the flow of journey, the flow of things that are happened, I think to me time becomes very important. And also I have found that when I do drawings and when I make a room, can I make a square room and can I make an oblong room? Or can I add a corridor next to that room and create one opening and somebody's passing by? Architecture is like a theater. Architecture is like a movie. You are talking about event. You are talking about the journey in which some episodes happen. Memories come back. Sometimes you look at it, sometimes you don't look at it. But if I use as an architect, apart from this, I have to also use time because the sun sets, sun rises and the shadows change. So to me, all those things are connected with time, space, sunlight, clouds, seasons, associations. So really, architecture is not just a space form. People don't know. It's a dialogue which goes on knowingly and unknowingly. And I think that is where the essence comes of architecture. When we say building is timeless, the important thing is Taj Mahal is, let's say, it's timeless. The idea is you saw it before, you saw it again after decades, and you think, that you saw it for the first time. Suddenly, the time collapses and the image again appears. So architecture, good building, or good memory. For example, you go somewhere and you saw lotus blooming, and then you pick it up and you want to smell and see what it is. Now that memory is also there, but everywhere time gets connected. And if you can really play time, if you can really elaborate time, if you can create relationship with time, space, and the journey, then your stories become very important. And I think architecture is the storytelling. It's an event. You arrive into the building, you have a conversation with somebody in the room, you will remember the room, you will remember the conversation. But all those things come up because architecturally, it is not the time that I'm talking about present and past and future. I'm talking about time as an entity. Other thing that I talk about is time and energy, like traffic jams today. And we say, oh, I found out, that I had to wait for, it took me another half an hour to reach there. So all those things become very important, but they are usually connected, but we never think about time and space and rhythm and connections. So architecture to me is not only space. not only form, not only structure, not only a function, but architecture also talks about, people forget about now climate. People forget how the solar journey is taking place. People forget about the rains which come in. So people are not really looking at all these elements which are natural, visible, experiential. But one of the things that we cannot experience physically is time. And therefore, if you really think about time and then think about a project, then the whole question is how many ways you talk about time through creation of situations which make you forget that time or remember that time. So those little instances, for example, I went to Madurai temple years ago, and it was important for me because when I went with my daughters, and they were young, but I went and I saw the things and I realized that that is one place where I could not understand the kind of sequences that happened until I went to the deity. And I did not know that a couple of hours passed by. So those things are very important. So space, form, function, then other thing that happen there, proportion, the characters. What they do is, they add on another thing, narration of animals, like on the columns, the carvings. So all those things become important. So when I talk about this, I talk about becoming aware. I think what one is talking about is how do we become aware? And when we become aware, are you really looking at only time, or are you looking at what you are enjoying and what happened to you during that time? So this is really my understanding. And so going to the office, I stretch time. I created several images, several situations. And the idea was that somebody, for example, sometimes, I jokingly say that somebody, a friend of mine comes, and he's so upset that I have not met him for a long time and he's shouting. And then suddenly he walks there and, he goes and he changes the location. He turns around, he doesn't find the entrance. And then when I come there and he remembers, but during that period, he has passed time. So events are also very important. But those things would only happen if I don't have memory. So what is the
True.
way you can stretch it?
I want to remind
Yeah.
Joshi, when
Yeah.
we went to Konark,
Yes.
he's talking of time. Joshi said, my God, this is some other paradigm in architecture, which he had not known, Or when we walked the land, JD Center of Art, before it was built,
Yeah.
and that was a virgin land. It's opposite Khandagiri caves. So the Jain Munis must have walked over it. But there was a almost ready-made open-air auditorium. And Doshi and I both together said, we will retain it as it is.
Yes.
The undulation. We will come to your experience and your ideas about JDCF as well, but you talked of memories, and Siddharth showed the photograph that's behind you of Le Corbusier that is always with you. So you have worked with two of the greatest 20th century architectural legends, Louis Kahn and Le Corbusier. So tell us a little bit about the memories, your learnings, experiences, anything that you would like to share so that we get to know them through you.
Both of them were very different. First of all, I worked with Corbusier when I did not know French or anything, and I stayed with him for 4 years. The important thing was the discipline that he had, the kind of time that he used. Early morning, he never met anybody. And then when he would come on the drafting board, he would really forget about what is the time left. But his drawings were talking about the kind of creation. So he was involved with creation, but he was involved with the creation of surprises, creation of moods, creation of a building which has a different typology. So he was a painter, artist, philosopher, but he was talking about architecture, and he talked about Michelangelo. So you can imagine where is that kind of connection, So I learned from him history. I learned from him the works of greatest artists, etc. And I learned from him the sense of space, the form. And he talked about light. One day he drew on a drawing the bird on the outside of the section. And he said, "Oh, in your country, birds also fly through the house, isn't it?" And then he drew another bird inside in the section and then one in the sky. What did he do? He explained to me the whole building through those 3 episodes. And I could see what is outside, what is inside, what is beyond, what is space. So he was showing me multiple dimensions of space through drawing, through gesture, and through understanding. He drew people, Indian, when he came to Punjab, he drew the big mango trees, he drew the buffaloes, and then he was drawing a Sardarji with a bicycle, and then on the bicycle there is a charpoy, and then there are children in front, and then back, here, and then he was talking, saying he was carrying the whole house, wanting to go to the shade of the mango tree and stay there or spend time. So he talked about life. He talked about kind of enjoyment people want to have. So he really gave me glimpses of moods, feelings, understandings, and values that different people have for nature and natural phenomena. Acceptance, but also making celebration out of acceptance. So when he did the buildings in Ahmedabad, he talked about climate. He talked about humidity. He talked about the sun. And he talked about people. So all those things I learned from him. And I think those have become very important elements in my life. Because all the time I would remember this. And on the other hand, Khan was there, and Khan considered Corbusier as his guru. And he was very shy to even meet him. But he revered him. And he was highly philosophical, spiritual. And he talked about the other issues of the intangible. Now you can imagine the time is intangible, Corbusier is intangible, situation is also like this. So what I learned was lessons of life, lessons of value, and lessons which are there far beyond cyclical. And I think those 2 things impressed me most. A guru, a far away, a disciple, and then telling about this, and then creating buildings as if they are made into fragile situation. Their drawings were done with charcoal on a tracing paper. It never touched the hand, the paper. They were drawn as if that they were drawing on water. Very light, very fluid, hardly. And then you remove that charcoal with your hand and you don't see the trace. So one was learning about the ephemerality of life. So whatever we are talking, in reality, that talking has nothing. It is really fluid. It will disappear. And I think this is something which I found, even what we are doing today with the Zoom, that in another few minutes, if you switch off or you make a mute, the sound stops. So what is this wonder, that is what fascinates me. This joy, this wonder, we have lost our childhood. We don't think about it, but it is nice to think about it. And I think today's trip, this meeting, this conversation is very much like this. I am connecting my time. I am connecting my conversation with Jachin Das and Siddharth and others. So I think what a wonderful thing to really talk about, which will stay in our memories. And architecture experience is memory.
Doshi sir, you've often talked about architecture being like a storytelling for you. And be it your own drawings, you were talking about Corbusier's drawings, but you yourself draw so much, and the beautiful serigraphs that you have of the Sangat, and other serigraphs that you've brought out, but also the way you looked at architecture, your own interest in art, drawing, your idea of space, your idea of habitat, and your love for cinema and music. That whole sense of storytelling for you, and with your incredible spiritual bent of mind, you talked about, naturally, your whole, not just the idea of religiosity, but the true sense of spiritual bent of mind. Can you talk about this whole thing? Can you share that with us, this idea of storytelling for you across the spectrum?
Actually, storytelling is an episode. Episodes make stories. And episodes and the memory of stories makes us feel alive. And I do all the time stories because I enjoy the story because it is not there. And then you talk it as a fable, then you talk it as something else. And then what happens is that when you weave that story, like Jataka stories or like the Aesop's fables, stories have nothing to do with limitations. When you tell story, you are out of limits. And I think for an architect, there are so many constraints. Functions are there, other situations are there, economy is there, location is there. But the moment you start talking stories, everybody forgets about it. And I found that that is a great tool, because when you tell a story, and if you can just let go loose little more, client's purse also gets opened up more. Gradually the client says, oh, I would love to have it. Why don't you do this? So really, story and the connection and the desire and that imagination is very important. And I think history has stories only. Otherwise, what is the meaning of history? History has nothing, no value. But actually that story adds to that an unimaginable dimension. And so I all the time make a story for myself. When I meet a client, when I meet somebody, or when I talk to the student, I tell them a story, because in that story, they can see the image. And in that image, they can see the form. And in that form, they can see it. Slowly, I can tell them that, but he was shouting, and then he ran around, and then he was going by the staircase. Suddenly, images come and design happens. Movies do that. But the design of creating that staircase would only happen if I tell him a story, because then the assistant knows how to imagine it. So stories have become for me most important because they are without stress. They are without limit. And the story has no condition that it is exactly this or that. So if you want to really create certain ambiguities, stories are best tools.
Doshi sir, so much has happened in one's lifetime, and yours has been such a full lifetime. There was independence. You went from Pune to JJ School of Art to Paris. You came back. India was going through an incredible evolution of modernism. You were at the forefront of it. And this idea of storytelling that you had, I remember as a student in Ahmedabad when I was a student, and I remember when we met a whole generation of architects who were your shishyas, be it Nimish Bhai or be it Yatin Pandya, and a whole bunch of them for whom you were the guru. And the kind of stories we heard about, be it the Gufa and the myth and the legend of how that thing came about. Can you talk a little about that? One or two stories about, naturally the whole incredible collaboration that you had with Hussain Saab, and this incredible, lovely Gufa came about near Sept.
Hussain and myself, we are very close friends, and then he was always complaining about the heat and the kind of restriction that the architecture would have. So when he came to make his gallery, he was trying to find where to do. So I showed him where it can be located on the campus, Ahmedabad campus, educational campus. So then I said that तुम तो सब जगह हर वक्त बोलते हो कि ये नहीं है, वो नहीं है, तो अभी मुझे एक बात करनी है तुम्हारे साथ, तुम्हें चैलेंज देना है कि तुम क्या करोगे, आर्टिस्ट हो तो क्या करोगे. So would you paint? Would you do anything? I said, I want to take challenge for myself कि मैं बिल्डिंग बनाऊंगा जो मैंने कभी की नहीं है. Or you will have to see that you will have to discover something else and not just paint on a wall or a canvas. So that challenge made me think about something which was not there. And the story became a myth. I had to create a myth. So story and myth, the difference is, myth is totally a creation of an imagination which may not exist at all. So I wrote the myth about this, and then about the kind of space and kurma and the galaxies and stars, etc. And then I did a building, and I had to do that challenge for myself that I have not done building like this before. So the question is, would the building have a form? Would it have a straight line? Would it be made in a natural material? Would that be really something where you will have different experiences all the time, expected and unexpected? And would the play of sunlight, shadows would play the game again? So will really the cosmic forces play the game? Other thing was, rather than doing a building with local material, was it possible to create the tribals to make the space? So I got hold of tribals from the villages, and then I said ferro cement is the only one, because when I was doing models and they were made regular, my engineer says, what are you doing? This is not what you are promising. Ferro cement is the only one which you can use, which has no form. And I created that form by making models. I shook the model on the vibrator of the table, and the whole thing collapsed. And in that collapse, I found a structure. And that is how really Gufa came into this. But Gufa was then, the question is, if you remember, you go to the hills and you see, go up on the hill and you get, there's hardly any height, and you crawl there, and then you see the kind of light that comes in. Now, I was thinking about those experiences of lying down, floating, touching the surfaces which are of different kind, and gradually the form would come. So ferro cement, tribal people who had never done a state building, who had never used brick, computer-aided design to really create a ferro cement structure which had a completely undulating fluid form. All those things we made models, and after those models, they were erected. And funny thing was, when it was all finished, he was quite surprised because he couldn't paint. So he came with Chester Hurwitz, his friend, and he came with a canvas, and he was trying. I said, "Tum ye nahi ho sakta hai tumhara se, kaise karoge?" He tried to put the canvas, it fell off several times. Then, he left, but he did some line drawing on the Gufa because he was fascinated. Eventually, he got those cutouts, and the cutouts were made. But the most important thing was, because I didn't want to have anything, even the floor is not flat. The floor is undulating. It's all made, I had to almost imagine. I came one day from Bombay, and I had done this whole circle and ferro cement sphere. All they are also soap bubbles, almost soap bubbles, so that you get those shapes, which you create. I slipped from that place. Then I got hold of sand, created the surface as if I am on the beach. And the vertical surfaces came there because of the shape of the soap bubble. And gradually the junctions, etc. changed. Everything was invented, developed on the spot. Trying to create something which is very close to nature. It's like a fruit basket. You take a basket and put a lot of fruit on top, and you see those fruits. And what is it? So question is architecture rigid, structure absolutely measurable? or do you create something which is unmeasurable, experiential, which cannot be replicated, but you will feel that you have gone back to your childhood. So this is really what one can do. So this was my challenge. And I was so glad that after a while it was done and everybody was surprised, because while it was going on, people who walked in the morning, they said, what is happening here? In the Gandhi's land, are they doing a swimming pool here? Then they said, are they doing a bunker? Everything was questioned, everything was talked. And then even in the school of architecture, it was almost tabooed that how can architecture be like this? So the questions are, what are we here for? Are we not supposed to go back to our childhood, make mischiefs, become free, and do really what we want? Because the whole idea is, let us create something which will bring childhood back. The freedom, the choice, the surprise, and the sense of impossibility. This is really what that Gufa happened. Then I had to get China mosaic, for example, because of the heat. So the myth was there. Then there was that Sheshnag, which was there. The tortoise, the kind of tortoise were below. They were lifting the whole building up because of the galaxies. And then what I had to do was find out. So I got broken tiles, broken cups and saucers. And then I created that cobra with the black saucer, pieces of saucer. Now, all those things really brought back, because I said, if I make one story which is a myth, how can that myth become continuous and gradually add on to other things as if events happen? So the event came from that Pithora Baba story, which I had heard of, that when they would create a wall, mud wall, on the 9th or 10th day, they would like to create that wall as if it is alive. And they would do a tribal dance and they would sacrifice a goat. So I heard about these stories from Hakusha. And then I found that supposing that this is the story, then why not this story become really the myth? So if you can, as an architect, but you are not educated and want to really ask a child to dream, you would make a sequence. And if you can make that sequence into a story, I think it would become very unusual story. And if that story then becomes your journey, I think your journey becomes very good. So the whole idea is journey.
Let me talk a little bit about, I'm originally from Orissa, a princely state called Mayurbhanj, and been away for 60 years from Orissa, in Bombay and Delhi. And in the process of these 60 years, I've collected a lot of handicrafts, antiquity, Kansa ka bartan, toys, miniatures, etc., which I have donated to the JD Center of Art. And Doshi has been very kind in designing. This is Doshi's first project in Orissa, and that was his first visit when he came to do this project. When you came first and you saw the land, and then you did the sketches.
Yes.
And you made the first master plan.
Yes.
It was like a village. Can you please talk about it a little?
Yeah, we want to know that journey.
Yeah.
Actually, the journey is my journey is connected with Jatin totally. It was actually a journey of dreams. He had a dream, I had a dream, and we had terrific time, fantastic time together, because he wants to do everything there. He has got collection of kites and paper and fans and whatnot. Anything you say, he has it. So the question now is, how does he put this together? And then there is no idea of what is the money, how much is the money, where is it? So the questions which Jatin leaves, and I think that is very important, that there are no measures. The clock may be there, but it is changing all the time. So the unmeasurable becomes for him the measurable. So you build it, and how much you build, what you do, If he can collect a fan and if he collect something else and they put together, he says, well, but why not? So it was for us a journey of very dialogue, experiment, and growing up and cherishing it. So that was one. But as an architect, if you have collection, you need also protection. So you need enclosures. Then you need that they are stored. Then you need that they are displayed. Then you need that there are people who will see it. And then all those things means creating a museum. And if that museum is there, who will come? Those people from Bhubaneswar, from Orissa, whose craftsmen were there, we went to see those craftsmen, they would come, other people would come, and they would get lost because they would get back what they have seen in their history. So building to me with Jatin Das was connecting history, connecting people's ambitions and aspirations, connecting lives, and creating those experiences in which practicality that you need collection, you need preservation, you need display, you need this. But all this was to be connected. And then you have to talk about climate, you have to talk about light, you have to talk about harsh sunlight. So one is talking about this, and I think this is really what JD Art Center is. It is an art center where you would experience the kind of things which you had never thought of. Not only you will see the wonderful collection, but you would also go through that experience through varied scales, spaces, heights, movements, and change of light. And I think this is really what architecture is about. How does one get client, his needs, and then finally aspirations, and give them some kind of a tangible experience, what we call a building. And this is what JD Art is, JD Art Center is. It's an experience. Then it is connected to Bhubaneswar. Then he was showing me the historical buildings there. And then he was talking about the laterite stone and others. So we tried to do all this. So it's really a creation of love, of joy, of something, that you do, and then you will say, I think, yes, finally, that this is something which I am happy about. And I think that's the story about the collection.
Yeah, it's still being constructed. It has taken long. Like you said, the practicality of raising funds is always there.
Yes.
But why do you feel such art centers? There are enough museums and art centers, especially in the big cities, but we don't have enough in other cities. I mean, you live in
Actually,
an
this was
Ahmedabad.
Jatin's first thing. That those
Exactly.
craftsmen, those artists who were in Orissa, they were sitting in the verandas, they were sitting outside, they were working under thin shades, under rain. And I think those were the people who create these marvelous things, from the kite to fans to other things, which happen. So all those things are done by people who have not been in a good place. All those people, we travel in the world, but we don't know from where these people have done. So it's actually honoring them through this collection, through this display, is what JDCA is about.
Was there something different that you did in that architecture that you want to share? Because Siddharth, you have some images of the, the construction as it is and the model, maybe what Doshi Sahib had made. Yeah, you want to share that?
Done, it was done also in a way that it can be done in phases. Could have humidity. You will also have to think about the rains, the humidity, the temperature, and then also the light, the natural light. So all those things had to be done. Second was that it have to be done in a phases, so that you can do things, in parts. So you build, by clusters of buildings slowly. And then the whole idea is, who are the people who will come there? So association.
Yes.
And I think these are all part of things, which are there. So at the moment, what you see as fragments, they are really the kind of little images of the main building which is happening. Once it is
Right.
finished, you would see it very differently
Are
because,
you being able to see it, Doshi?
pardon?
Yeah, he's able to see it. He's also able to
I
see
am
it.
seeing it, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Also, the space, if you can show Siddharth, the land, because, like you talked about the undulating land, what you talked about, the
The
amphitheater, what.
other thing is that the experience of a gallery, that you have a flat roof which is certain height, but how do you make the space, some places very high, some places when the reflected light comes, you don't even notice the roof because it is inclined. So it is not just only the object, I think that fragility of the fan and standing below this artificial, natural light floating space, then you will see the relationship between the two, the weight of the fan and the thinness of the light. So experience is very important in all of this. An architect has to do so that the fan becomes worthy and the building really gives that relationship. Thing which I want to say is that JDCA's art center and the site here and the kind of monthly and weekly and yearly meetings there and the shows tells another story which is not talked about. That we are a civilization of thousands of years, and we have people from the poorest of the poor to the wisest, and the most talented craftsmen, but ignored. I think this place is becoming the center for them. And it is a homage. So when you were talking about the Sun Temple, in Konarak, what I liked about the Konarak Sun Temple is that all those dancers and those sculptures, which are there, they look as if, that they're alive. And I think when this center begins to happen and function, we will feel the same. There will be life in them.
I envisaged a concept like there will be a gallery for brushes only. The kind of brushes that we have from Jharu to the finest watercolor, oil color brushes.
Yeah.
Things like that. And there will be a gallery for media, material, and tools in art.
Also, it's an ideal museum because even the light and the volume in this building is unique. The form of the building inside and outside is also very different. So this was another experiment here, that how do you really create light? And the roof almost disappears because you get reflected light, and the curvature almost becomes invisible because of reflection. So how does one create those things? Because all the objects that Jatin Das has, they're all fragile, mostly, as I know. And they must look precious. And I think that is the essential part of this JDCA center.
Siddharth, I want to say something. Ravi here.
Yeah.
Please.
Sorry.
So,
Who's that?
can you hear? This is Ravi here, Siddharth.
Yeah. Hi. Yeah.
So, this is to Doshi sir. He may not know this, but he and I shared a building for 2 years together, because I lived in D18, the dorm in IIM Ahmedabad, where Doshi sir had his office. And
Yes.
so when he was talking about, time and architecture and people, I was imagining that combination and, almost feeling connected to Doshi sir and those 2 years that I was there. So that was one thought I wanted to share. But the other was more, so there is IIM Ahmedabad old campus and new campus, sir. And I don't know, maybe there is a prejudice because I was associated with the old campus. I don't like the new campus. But I don't know what you think about it. And I would love to hear your views on that, sir.
No, I can only say that why don't you go and visit the IIM Bangalore campus?
Yes, I have visited the IIM Bangalore.
Because that campus
He
is
lives
done
in
by
Bangalore.
And no, but the point is that that Bangalore campus is, you don't know whether you are outside or inside. And when you walk there, you never know how long you have walked. And I think that is the beauty that I learned from Bangalore. And that is what I tried to do.
I must say the Bangalore campus, sir, I've seen it from the time it was built to what it looks like now. And when it was built, I thought it was a meaningless structure. There was a lot of, rocky sort of look. But today, when I look at it with all the trees and all the way the environment is integrated, it looks incredibly beautiful. Maybe it'll take some more years for IIM because new campus to reach that sort of a level. I'm thinking aloud.
Well, every place we do, we must connect nature. We must connect movement. We must connect climate so that our journey is not monotonous and dry. And there is always a change because nature will change all the time. Things will change. I think these are the kind of things that I always remember while doing the work.
Mr. Doshi,
Doshi,
this is Saroj from London.
Yes,
May I ask you a question, please?
of
A
course.
question, a comment. It's a fantastic talk that I've been enjoying listening for the last 1 hour. You talked about time, space, and energy. What is
Yes.
common in all these three? That all these are infinite. They are limitless.
Yes.
Now, how can you combine these three power to come to a stable, predictable outcome like architecture?
I think if we become ourselves and pause and wonder, I think we will always be there. If we're walking, for example, when we drive in the car and on the road, we don't even think about the road nor the car. We are worried about something else. When we meet somebody, we always talk about only time. So what is happening is that our whole psyche has become outward looking. So energy and time, which is really what our survival depends on, is muted. We don't talk about it anymore. And that is the unfortunate part. Because where is life? So when I design architecture, I always ask this question that, can I live life fully? Can I become aware about life and living? Can I really create something which will always look like alive? Because when I was young, I used to take my children, and then even grandchildren, to the zoo. And the only time I found in the zoo was all those diverse animals and birds and insects and whatnot, right from crocodile to butterflies and whatnot. And even today I look at them and I said that they have been done so well. Nature has created them. They are evolved, of course, but they're done and they live fully. They live life fully. They are quiet, they are healthy, and they commute, and they rejoice. So all those factors, where are they now? And that would be my question. Are we aware? Are we aware about really ourselves, even our breath? And I think that is a question.
There are also some questions that have come on YouTube, especially from young architecture students. I'm going to combine two questions. One of them says, "Sir, what skills do you think first-year students should possess? What should they develop?" Another person asks that the awareness about architecture in society is so little. What is your take on architecture in general in this country, which is suffering?
I tell you, the first question is my favorite question because I used to take first year class. And the best way to make them aware and really enjoy them their work was to design a building for a pet. Each one had their own pet. Somebody had a monkey, somebody had a rat, somebody had a snake, a giraffe, and whatnot. And the moment they took those subjects, they began to really look at things very carefully. They understood climate, they understood space, they understood energy, they understood desire, they understood their jumping and getting lost. The person who had made that rat, I was quite surprised. In the end, when he finished it, he had put on the drawing room, in the living room, a glass floor. And below that, there were tunnels in which the rat was going all the time. I could never imagine this. But what a beautiful thing. So, pressure in education should be released completely, and we must awaken their life, liveliness, curiosity, wonder. And I think those are the things which we must add on.
Very true. And the second question was about architecture in India, because there is lack of awareness. What do you feel about the larger idea of architecture, which this person is saying is suffering? He or she has used the word suffering.
Well, if the architects,
probably true.
if we all become aware, and if we say that we have to save energy while moving from one place to the other, or we have to save pollution, or we have to have a room in which there is a proper ventilation. I think all these questions that we discussed earlier, if we can just be bothered about it and decide
care about
ourselves
it.
that we will resolve it ourselves, it is possible.
Sure.
I think the resolution is within us only. Nobody else is going to give us. Somebody is going to give you a flat and a building ready-made. What is the use? You can change it.
Doshi,
Yes.
sorry, Nandita, can you
Yeah.
hear me? I would
Yes,
say,
we can.
I want to continue this. This young man who is asking about architecture suffering. Frankly, our traditional architecture have the answer. The traditional builders of houses, mud houses in the rural area, they have the knowledge and the expertise and the experience of it, how to build. It's the modern architecture which is suffering.
Well, what I'm talking about is the people who have grown up into the world who don't think about time, energy, or resource. And they don't even think about even their life. I think we are not aware. We have lost our sense of living.
We have a question from Ms. Pallavi Swaranjali.
Hi, I am from Canada. I had visited Doshi sir back in 2015, if you remember. And I am finishing my PhD on his work, which I'm defending soon in November end this year. I just wanted to ask you about, you talked about storytelling. And you talked about the miniature stories, the miniature paintings that you have done, and you've talked about your oral storytelling as well as the 3 written stories that you have. And that is, my research is actually based all on that. And I was wondering, one, who your favorite authors are, your favorite storytellers, who are they? And also, how does representation in the form of these stories or in the form of the miniature paintings that you do, how does that, in your opinion, what is the role of representation in architecture in general? If I may ask.
I must tell you that I had gone to Bangladesh and I was looking at the buildings of Khan. And there I found an ordinary craftsman sitting there with a red ball pen and a paper. And I could not believe how beautiful, very primitive perhaps, but how beautifully he was drawing those buildings, the way he saw them, the way he understood them. As a result, his drawings were not our drawings. His drawings were his spiritual drawings showing what he experienced. And I think we have forgotten that kind of an art. That do we really draw what we really feel deep inside? And I think that is the way to follow.
And if I may ask who your favorite storytellers are?
Well, I don't know now, but Jataka story. I read, all kinds of things. You should meet people on the road and just listen to them. The stories are wonderful there. I met in Bombay when I was in the third year, and I used to stay in the hotel there, a cheap hotel. But then I saw a beggar woman there giving the child a mango, and then I saw the mango was completely rotten. So I just asked that lady, I said, why are you doing it? She says, I can't afford. But she says, then, do you know, if he is supposed to survive, he will survive this and he will be a wonderful person. So I don't care whether he lives or dies. Let him experience life. And I think that's the story I remember.
Thank you.
Mr. Prakash Dharma, you had a question. Please unmute yourself and ask.
Yeah. I would like to remind Doshi sir. Doshi sahib, I was in your IIM office, worked in Ahmedabad.
I know the face. I didn't remember that name.
It was a very strange coincidence that I could do that. And there is a small coincidence of two things. I worked for Nandita Das film also, a very short role. Yes, in Firak. In Firak, I was that cunning baniya, which is for 1 or 2 sentences. Yes.
Okay.
And the great thing is, I had come across Hussain Saab in Hyderabad. And I had designed something for him, for his gallery in Hyderabad.
That's very good.
And that time he asked me, do you know Doshi Sahib, who had designed for my Ahmedabad place? I said, if you are asking me if I know Doshi Sahib, how do I answer it? That time there were literally tears in my eyes. And it's a great memory, I would say, that Ahmedabad IIM, there is no great enjoyment better than that. It was a strange kind of nostalgic event, but...
Thank you. Did you also have a question, Prakashji?
One must look at or observe coincidences. They get messages.
Yeah. We have some questions from YouTube. One of them is, what would you say on using crafts and locally available resources in architecture to make a more self-reliant society? Basically,
I think ideal thing is that it is better to not question it, but practice it. Yes. We have so many villages, we have so many towns in India who have been using local materials with full of craft and wonder. Absolutely. Now you go and buy them in the market because people sell them, as artwork. But actually their lifestyle, etc., we have forgotten. We have gone too far away from the reality of India. It's full of it even now. I think you should go. And I think Mr. Jatin Das is here and you can meet him and go with him to some places that he would show you what wonders are there.
True. Again, somebody from YouTube has asked, do you feel that architecture is facing an identity crisis? Are people not realizing the true essence of architecture? How has the identity of architecture changed over decades? I mean, you have seen so many shifts in the way architecture is taught, the way it manifests, the philosophy behind it. Could you please shed some light on that?
No, I think the questions like this, best way would be to visit those places, analyze them, find out what is the cause of some things which have stayed, some things which have been modified, some things which have been now totally changed. I think that is the best school that you can go to, the realities.
And expound on it a little bit, Nandita?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, what I was saying, there's a big divide between our traditional culture and our contemporary urban culture. This is one. And
Yeah.
the real problem is our education.
That's right.
Our general education is not just architecture, even in art. You know, I was at a university in America giving a lecture, and they were doing painting by looking at their mobile. So I say, you got the redwood forest, why don't you sketch? In the afternoon, all these kids went to sketch. Today in India, 90% of the young artists are sketching from mobile and photo transfer, etc. So there is a very serious problem of our education. And we have everything in this country. With the music, dance, theatre, painting, architecture, everything. But the kids are not connected. Molela, they have beautiful relief clay work. There are other places where there's stone carving. There are people who are doing miniatures. Like people say, the canvas came to India with the colonial British. That's not true. In Orissa, the Patachitra is made on pata meaning silk or a cloth, and they prime it with tamarind seed paste, which they grind. So that's a canvas. And when they do a tempera painting, they put the lacquer smoke onto the painting like this.
Yeah.
And that protects the painting. So we have the knowledge of everything in this country, but there is between our traditional and the country's heritage and knowledge and the contemporary urban society is totally divorced. That's the real problem.
You know, Jatin, the issue is not the answer or maybe an explanation. The issue is, are we really looking at things? Are we traveling like the way you have traveled, the way you have observed, the way you have made things, happen? And you wanted to learn, find out, and then you were loving so much, what they were doing. How many people really would have that kind of time? Or their desire, they would just change. They would not like to do things. They want to go buy the market and believe in it. And that's the end. I think this whole idea of identity, pride, something, that it is mine and in my culture, going to the library and finding old books, I think all those things are missing and they are not in the school anymore.
From YouTube again, so I don't know the name. When you say you have to experience the space or story, should we do it from the actor's point of view or the spectator's point of view?
I think both the points of view are very valid, no?
Yes, exactly.
I think, you have to experience and you have to detach and again experience.
Somebody wants to know from YouTube about net zero concept in designing a structure by using local material. And they're asking, is JDCA a net zero concept? So can you tell us first what is net zero concept and then do you use it and a little bit about it?
First of all, net zero is that you are using minimum energy, almost nil. And that means, that you are really trying to find out what are the ways you will not use energy or resources or money. If you go to the villages, remote villages, then you would find out that they recycle everything, whether it is the waste from the animals, whether it is the waste, which is the residue that is left or what is available to them. And they really manage it and it becomes not only valuable, but it is also hygienic. So the question is, when the cycle gets complete and there is no wastages, there is nothing left, then it is efficient. And I think if I understand correctly, that's what net zero is.
Sure. And I'm sure everyone's trying to move towards that with the resource crisis we have. Doshi Sahib, do you have another 5 minutes of energy? Because a lot of questions and people are saying, please, one more.
Okay.
Do you have a little bit? Okay. So Atul Datta, who's on the Zoom call, is asking, sir, due to space constraints and various other factors, there is a need and culture of multi-storied buildings now. Can you please suggest the ways of integration of these high-rise towers with nature, which sometimes seems to overshadow the same?
No, there are many people who are now trying to do these buildings, with the green areas in between. I think there is a lot of work is going on. It's not that, why doesn't he go and see the schools of architecture or other places? There are in the world many places energy has become an important issue, nature has become important issue, and they are creating good designs, good work.
With
So it
high-rise
is not,
buildings.
yeah, multi-storied, almost 40, 50, 100 floors.
Wow, okay.
So there are, I think one should go to the library and then really get from them.
Sure.
He can go to the institutions also.
Okay, yes, there are still too many questions, but his granddaughter rightly is telling us to stop. Kushnu, totally respect that. Yes, you've given us so much time, and you've been such an integral part of that dream that started, almost over two decades ago to build JDCA. And we want to ensure that we can do it at the soonest possible so that we can have the next Meet the Artist there with a tulsi chai and the lemongrass chai that my father has thought of. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Doshi Sahib. It was wonderful, very educative for all of us. And your
This has been wonderful. Thank you. And then
thank you.
I am glad, that we could meet and I could see all of you, the
Yeah.
whole family here together. Yeah.
Thank you, Doshi.
Yes, at least this way we could see each other. My mother has also come on, so you literally can see the whole family now.
Yeah. Thank you so much, madam. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you who joined this. And next time we will meet on the second Saturday at 6 p.m. with another eminent artist, and we will share ideas and thoughts and questions. Thank you.